Hey everyone, it's me, and I'm a little tired. It's been some long days shooting the movie, and there's going to be and for anyone else, there's going to be a snob episode this week, but we're still in the first segment of Shot on Shitio. The movie, as I was asked this on the comments, how many segments that movie has. The movie has 3 segments to it. We're in the first one now. The goal is to have the third segment, to have all 3 of them shot by the end of November, just leaving whatever insert shots we'll have left after that, which wouldn't take long at all to pick up. That's our goal, and the way things that are going right now, it seems pretty realistic. It's been fun. It's been fun back directing a movie again. Since I didn't direct the Snob movie or Paranoia, the last thing I directed was The Hooker with a Heart of Gold. So it's been fun doing that again, and not only that, but doing it in the way that we are with that camera. that's been kind of cool. I haven't shot on one of those since high school, so it's kind of like being back in high school and shooting one of our fucking short films again, you know, only this time it's 3 of them to make up an anthology film, and the script's a little bit better. It's kind of funny, too, that looking at the footage, the film quality of it, even though it's shot on Shitio, and it's a send-up of Shitio movies, it's kind of funny that looking at it, the quality is actually slightly better than some of my movies that are on the site, like Freak Out and Cheap. Since when I uploaded those onto the site, Freak Out and Cheap, they had to be, I can't remember why, but they had to severely be compressed quite a bit, and that took what was already pretty low quality anyway, and just made it even lower, like way lower. If you want a prime example, if you look at Game Boys on the site, and then look at the trailer for it, which I think is still on YouTube. If you look at the trailer for it on YouTube, you notice severe differences in quality between the 2 of them because of how it was compressed to be on the website. So actually comparing those to how Shot on Shitio actually looks a little bit better. But anyway, that's been a lot of fun. You'll see more videos like this pop up, you know, kind of like when I was doing Paranoia and when I was doing the Snob movie, you'd see some odd videos pop up, like more Brad tries, more stuff like this. Of course, production vlogs too. I'll put together some more production vlogs on it. Though, with Paranoia and the Snob movie, it was pretty, the scheduling for those was pretty tight. I remember for Paranoia we were shooting straight through like 10 or 12 days, however long, like a 2-week shoot, I think. The Snob movie spread over like a month or something like that. With this movie, though, it's a little bit more lax. So I actually have time to shoot the movie, do something like this, do midnight screenings, and also a Snob episode, which I'll have probably in a couple of days. So that's been pretty cool. I get to easily juggle a lot of things without getting burnt out or going insane. Which I wouldn't even let happen anyway. That's why I didn't do many Snob episodes during Paranoia or the Snob movie. But I managed to get a few movies watched, so might as well talk about those. The first one of which is The Frozen Ground.
I need physical evidence.
We're reopening the case. This guy did it, and they let him get away with it. Did you panic when you killed him? You had their blood all over your hands. I didn't do that. I promise nothing's going to happen to you.
Look, he's gonna take me. Help me, please.
Have you seen her? Have you seen this girl?
I actually feel bad that it's taken me until now to see this movie. I think it's been out for a couple of weeks, and it's the new Nick Cage movie, so you'd think that I'd have had a review for this up by like the first day it was out. Well, I'd watch it on the first day, and then review it, and then put the review up on the second day. That's how it would go. But, you know, busy, so finally got around to watching it, and I was hearing some pretty good things about it. I mean, I would have watched it regardless, of course, Nick Cage movie, but I was hearing some really positive things about the movie, and I thought it looked good anyway. Honestly, from what I had heard leading up to the movie's release and the cast that it has, I was actually predicting it was gonna be a major release. Like when I heard the synopsis, the plot, and again the cast. You got Nick Cage, Cusack, Vanessa Hudgens is in this. And I first heard about this movie like a year ago, something like that. Whenever it first popped up on Nick Cage's IMDb page. So I was like, okay, well that sounds a lot better than something like Trespass or Justice, or Sorcerer's Apprentice. So I was like, all right, cool. I'm really looking forward to that. And then it just arrived. Like Dave and I were scrolling through release dates on movies coming out in August just to see what we had coming up for the midnight screenings, and like that particular week it said opening Frozen Ground. What it is? Like I was predicting that was going to be a fairly major release, but it wasn't. It's put on demand. It might be in a few theaters around the country. I don't know, but I saw it on demand, and it deserves a hell of a lot more than just being dumped on demand. Like it's crazy how this movie is just put direct to on demand, and something like fucking Paranoia, the Liam Hemsworth one, is in like 2,000 fucking screens. There's really no justice in that. I don't even know what to say to that. That is a preposterous thing that fucking happened. And on demand does a lot. I'm not knocking on demand at all. I like it a lot in the sense that because of on demand, you get to see a lot of movies sooner than you normally would have. Movies that are just in like select cities get a very small release. Because of on demand, you see them a lot sooner. Case in point, the other two movies that I'm going to be reviewing here. But, I mean, on demand is also used as a dumping ground. Trespass, Justice, things like that. I mean, it is, you know. Sometimes on demand is just a very nice way of saying direct-to-video. But this movie deserves a lot more than that. It does. I don't know if it was just dumped there because of after Cage's last few movies didn't do well, if they just didn't have any faith in it. You know, it's a much better movie than those. It's a lot more ambitious. It's a much more serious project than something like fucking Trespass. It is. If you want Cage to have a fucking comeback, give him a fucking chance when the movie comes along. And this is a really good movie. It's not, I wouldn't put it in like his 10 best movies, but it's a damn good flick. God, so tired. I lost my fucking train of thought. But anyway, I get word that not enough people will see this movie because they'll just think it's a schlocky Nick Cage movie like fucking Bangkok Dangerous or something. But it's not. It's a really serious, dark, gritty, sleazy serial killer movie, and I certainly hope it finds its audience. And the movie only costs like $20 million fucking dollars to make, or something like that, between 20 and 30. With enough promotion behind it, it could have done well at the box office if it was given the fucking chance. So the movie is about a serial killer in the early 1980s. Robert Hansen was his name, who was in Alaska. In the movie, he's played by John Cusack. That was one of the things that drew me to it, was kind of the gimmick of seeing John Cusack play a serial killer. And I like that. I like it when actors branch out and play roles like this. Like, when Robin Williams popped up like in 1 Hour Photo, and actors you wouldn't normally suspect of playing a bad guy. Like hell, when when Broken Arrow came out at the time, it was the gimmick that Travolta's playing the bad guy, but that's been about all he's done since. But you know what I mean. In this, it's not. But in this, it's not like stunt casting or anything like that. Like when you see what this guy looks like, the guy he's playing, this is good casting. They have similar features. They make him up to look relatively similar to the guy he's playing. And not only that, he does a fucking good job in this movie. Like there's plenty of moments where you forget you're watching John Cusack. This is not a John Cusack role. This is not like, oh, he's really depressed, he's been dumped, but there's going to be a scene later in a movie where he's at a concert watching a band on stage. That happens in a lot of Cusack movies. High Fidelity, Hot Tub Time Machine. So in this, but the movie is not, it's not like a mystery. From the beginning of it, you know he's the killer. Everyone knows he's the killer. The cops knows he's the killer. The movie is about Nick Cage is an Alaskan state trooper who's basically put in charge of collecting enough evidence to actually arrest this guy. Because from the beginning, they know it's him. They know that they have their guy. And what he does is he kidnaps these women, he tortures them for a few days, flies them out into the wilderness, and then hunts them. He lets them go, and then after like 10 seconds, he's got his rifle, he just fucking shoots and kills them. And he apparently did this to about 30 people, 30 or more people, and I believe they only uncovered like 11 or so. So in the movie, one of the people who gets away from him is Vanessa Hudgens' character, who's a meth head, stripper, prostitute, junkie. Like she's damn good in this. She makes you look past the fact that she's got a no nudity clause and she's playing a stripper. I'll give you that. She gives a damn fucking good performance in this movie. I haven't seen her in a whole lot of movies. Why the fuck would I? Considering some of the stuff she's done in the past. But in this, this is a breakthrough performance she's giving in this. She sells this fucking character. So she gets away from John Cusack's character. You know, she's a streetwalker. She's still got to get back to work. So she's stripping, she's hooking, she's doing all that stuff. And Cusack knows that she's gotten away and is like kind of trying to find her. Like he's stalking her at strip clubs. And Nick Cage is trying to protect her, even though she's a really dumb person, so it makes it kind of hard for him to protect her because she's always fucking running away. And so there are moments in it where it's like, it's sort of like a less B-movie Vice Squad, like a less exploitation-y version of Vice Squad, which is a compliment. Vice Squad is one of the best sleaze flicks of all time. If you haven't seen Vice Squad, watch fucking Vice Squad. If any movie gets compared to Vice Squad, see that movie, also see Vice Squad. So there's a lot. The movie doesn't hold back on the grit, on this and on the sleaze. It really it shows you what this guy does. It shows you what this girl goes through and trying to get away from him, but also to kind of survive out on the streets. It's a good flick. It really is. It kind of feels a little long because since it's not an action film. It's not. It's not an action movie. It's not an adventure movie. It's not an exploitation movie. It's a gritty crime drama. But since from the beginning to the end, you know who the guy is, and the movie is not really about them chasing him, but just collecting evidence. It always has a consistent tone throughout it. So because of that, like, I thought I was an hour into the movie, and I was like only a half an hour in. I mean, it's a good movie. It holds my attention. It's just a very constant, steady tone throughout it. It's not like there's any big set pieces, or which you wouldn't expect that in something like this anyway. That would be really out of place. But because of that, it does feel long. And you could probably shave off 10 minutes here and there. There are characters in the movie that don't really need... Not that they don't need to be there, they're just not very well written. Like, it shows Cage's wife a couple of times, and she shows up a couple times to be a harpy, basically. That's it. And, like, Cage brings Vanessa Hudgens home to protect her, but the wife throws a fit and tells him to get rid of her. But then by the end, she does a whole complete, like, attitude reversal and is like, and says to him something like, I know the system's flawed, but they need you there to protect it, or they need you there to change it, or really stock dialogue like that. That character was pretty useless. And some of the dumb things that Vanessa Hudgens does in it, like, it's another thing that the movie's probably a little longer because she keeps doing stupid things. Like, if she was a smart... I don't know how accurate the portrayal... If it's balls-on accurate to the real character and story that I'm then I apologize for what I'm about to say. But when you're watching the movie, and the character is doing a bunch of stuff that is kind of making the process seem longer in catching this guy, you're kind of sitting there at the TV like, God damn, stupid. Like, she'll escape from people who are trying to kill her, but then the first place she goes is to the number one place where these people would be, like their lair, their hideout and shit. And Nick Cage has her protected several times, but she just escapes and leaves. But it's not terribly distracting, but you are sitting there like, God damn, dumbass. So it is, when you have the scenes in the movie, the best scenes in the movie are the ones, and it's towards the end, when you have Cage and you have Cusack together in the same room, and it's the interrogation scene where they know he's guilty, they know he is, but they gotta get a confession out of this guy. It was an intense scene. It was handled incredibly well with these actors. Nicolas Cage is fantastic in the movie. He really brings a lot of warmth to a character that's, if given to a lesser actor, the character would feel rather generic. There's nothing hugely substantial about the character he's playing. It kind of stock stuff, like he's got the family and he's like 2 weeks from retirement and stuff like that. But he does bring humanity to this character. He does bring warmth. You can see care in his eyes when he's talking to this girl. He does a great job at that. And too many people think like this isn't a movie that's going to end up on like the Nick Cage loses his shit video or something like that. Anymore, too many people forget that there are really fantastic, straightforward Nick Cage roles. What I love about Nicolas Cage is that, yeah, he does some batshit crazy performances, but for the most part in those movies, there is context to why he's acting so crazy. He makes it believable that the characters he plays would act like that 99% of the time. Okay, maybe in Deadfall, I don't know how much context there was for him acting like that. But in his defense, if he didn't act like that in Deadfall, would we still fucking be talking about Deadfall? Seriously. Nick Cage is great because one of the best things I've heard said about Nicolas Cage is that Nicolas Cage, when he's in a great movie, he will act the shit out of it and make a great movie even better due to his just unique, very, very, very great performance, very sometimes haunting performances that he gives. Leaving Las Vegas, I'm going to use the term again, it's one of the most haunting performances I've ever seen, and oh my God, I could never picture anybody else in that role but Nicolas Cage. So you give him a great role like Leaving Las Vegas, and he's going to make that unique. He's going to make that better. He's going to make that his own. There's a reason he won a fucking Oscar for that movie. And when you have Nicolas Cage in something that's not very good, he is still going to act the shit out of it and make it watchable. He is. He's going to give you some fucking entertainment. He absolutely is. He's going to have fun with it. He's going to give you what you want. And you know what? Usually it still feels like that's how his character would act, even when it's in a lesser movie. He can make a bad movie watchable because of him, because you're just glued to his every move on screen. And I will always be a Nicolas Cage defender. I won't always defend some of his movies. I will always defend the man as really one of my favorite actors. Everyone fucking knows that about me. It's like, at this point, that's like saying my favorite movie is Caligula. So as a Cage movie, certainly I recommend this. It's one of his since Bad Lieutenant. It's one of his better movies. Dear God, way better than Trespass, way better than Justice. And I liked Season of the Witch, but I liked it as a really hokey, campy, schlocky flick. Drive Angry, I love. Drive Angry is underrated as hell. I fucking love Drive Angry. But in terms of his more dramatic work, this is probably his best since Bad Lieutenant. He's got a new movie coming out called Joe, and I'm hearing nothing but great things about that too. So I'm looking forward to that. Oh, I did like Stolen. I did like that. I mean, it's kind of forgettable, but I I recommended that movie. I enjoyed myself watching that. That was a good Cage action movie. So that's my thoughts on Frozen Ground. I definitely recommend checking it out. I think it's unfortunate that it didn't get quite the exposure that, honestly, I think it should have gotten. But hopefully people will come across it and not just dismiss it as like, oh, it's going to be like his last couple of movies, because it's not. It's a good movie. So, okay, I'm going to take a breather and come back and talk about Lovelace.
Does she even know what she was auditioning for?
She's adorable, but we traffic in fantasy here. You know, more pizzazz.
I want to show you this movie we made.
Oh, are you actually doing that? And action.
We're all gonna win Oscars.
The pornographic film Deep Throat has become one of the most popular movies of all time.
Hi, Mr. Hefner.
Hef, please.
Your girl's gonna be a star.
What about me?
All right, Lovelace. I actually just watched that the other day. This is a good. I don't know how else to lead into this other than to say that. But normally I don't. Normally when I see a movie that I really like a lot, it's rare for me to actually. It's rare for me to actually use the phrase "it's one of the best movies I've seen of the year." Because who knows what all I'll see by the end of the year. Oftentimes I'll use the phrase, it's one of the better movies I've seen, you know. So you just say, it's one of the better movies I've seen so far, you know, just so I don't want to trap myself. And also, because I don't know what else is going to come out towards the end of the year. This is one of the best movies I've seen this year. It's not been a great year in terms of movies. Maybe it could largely be that I seem to be seeing more movies this year than in previous years, but goddamn, this is a disturbing movie. This is a brutal sit. And I don't mean that as in like, oh my god, it sucked, that was fucking brutal. No, it's a hard movie. I saw it yesterday and I'm still thinking about the movie. And I already know the story, of course. I know the story behind it. Doing what I do for a freaking living, how can I not? With the kind of movies I like, the kind of movies I watch. Even if you already know what's going to happen in the movie, if you know the story, it's good. It's damn fucking good. This is a good fucking movie. Like, it's one of the best of its kind since Star 80. Both very similar movies. Both deal in fame and a certain kind of industry and spousal abuse. And they're both unique in how they tell the story, too. You can kind of tell with Lovelace that it seems like they had that kind of vibe in mind with Star 80, because it's even got a cameo from Eric Roberts in it. He's in it for like a minute. When he popped up, it was like that. I wonder if that's kind of like a nod to Star 80. If you haven't seen Star 80, that's a haunting fucking movie. That movie will stick with you. It's a tough sit. It's a good sit. It's a great sit. It's Eric Roberts' best performance. That's a good fucking movie. And Lovelace is, I don't know if it's as disturbing as Star 80, only because it ends relatively happily, other than when it does the credit about her dying in a car accident, but it doesn't end with her getting her head shot off with a shotgun. So if you know the story, the movie's about Linda Lovelace. The movie's about her meeting her husband, Chuck Traynor, how she got involved with Deep Throat, the popularity of Deep Throat, her marriage to Chuck Traynor, how she got away from Chuck Traynor, and how she kind of got away from that industry. The movie is interesting in how it tells itself, because the first about the first half of the movie, it kind of shows you really shallow things about the story, in that it's not showing you every specific detail yet. It's showing you what a normal person who really probably only knows just of Deep Throat and kind of who Linda Lovelace is and sort of what that scene was like. It kind of shows that without getting into the too gritty details. It sort of shows the lighter side of it, of making a movie like Deep Throat, what went into it. Even it shows how she first met Chuck Traynor, how he got her into the movie, and different things about their marriage, and also quirkier things about Deep Throat. Like there's a funny scene with her and Harry Reams when he ejaculates too soon, because I wasn't expecting that. Damn it, Harry! What are you in fucking junior high all of a sudden? That was a funny scene. So it's a lot of stuff like that. But there's still some darkness going on underneath, because when you know the story, and you know about the relationship with Chuck Traynor, it's, what's coming. You know what the movie's going to do, because in the movie, even when it's doing those lighter segments, you see the bruises on her leg. You see how there's a scene in the movie where they're at like a party and some people are out on the balcony and in a hotel room, and Traynor and Lovelace's room is next door, and they hear what sounds like sex. They're like, well, they're really getting it on in there. And then it cuts away, even though you watching it, you know what's going on in there. And then in the second half, it kind of rewinds a bit. It does show you 6 years after Deep Throat's release, and she's taking a lie detector test about whether or not her accusations of Chuck Traynor are true, and then it doubles back, and it's not like a Rashomon thing. It doesn't be like, here's the happy side, and then it's the same thing again, but it's really sad. It's not like that. It's not like Wonderland, where you're getting one story and then you're getting another. It's not like that. It just goes back and actually shows you everything you saw. Here's what happened behind the scenes of everything you saw. Here's them actually going into that next room and her getting the shit beaten out of her. Here's an extension of what happened on their wedding night when he raped her. Here's him prostituting her by having 5 guys gang rape her. Here's him throwing her in a scalding hot shower. I mean, it shows you, like, pretty much shows you everything but, like, dog fucker. So it's brutal. It's a brutal shit. But it's not an anti-pornography movie. It's not. In that Star 80's not an anti-Playboy movie. It's an anti-spousal abuse movie through and through. Linda Lovelace's story is an anti-spousal abuse story. Jesus Christ, and it's a fucking tough one. We sat there watching it, all of us knowing the story going into it. There are moments when you can't breathe when you're watching this. I mean, it's brutal. But I mean, it's well done. It's not exploitation at all. I mean, it's brutal. Like we were watching it with Sarah, and by the end, I mean, she was getting nauseous about what was happening on it. And it's really the strength of the movie to really make you that, to really give you that effect while you're watching it. I mean, it's kudos to the direction. It's kudos to the writing. Oh my God, kudos to the acting. Amanda Seyfried is great. She's fantastic. She's totally believable in the role, even though she's not the spitting image of Linda Lovelace. But you believe her in this role. You see the sweetness of that character through and through. You do. And Peter Sarsgaard as Chuck Traynor that's. The sad thing is that, like, he's gonna deserve a nomination for this, and he's probably not gonna get it. But he does. He's disturbing as hell in this movie. He's frightening. And what's great about his performance in this movie is that it's not just a two-dimensional monster we're seeing. It's not like that. When we first see his character in this movie, he's charming, he's funny, he's got good lines, he's got good pickup lines, he's charismatic. They make it 100% believable that someone would end up with this guy, who is a monster. Sarsgaard makes that believable in his performance. And it's not just sudden. It's not just out of nowhere. Just like one day he's crazy. One scene in the movie he's crazy. Not at all. Like it builds it up. You can see the details of it in the beginning of the movie. But again, he still makes that character charismatic in the beginning of it and likable at the beginning of the movie, because that's what they're doing. They're showing you how someone could get involved with this guy, how someone could be seduced by this guy, and then making him so scary and intimidating that, watching this, when the mob beats the shit out of the guy, you just want to fucking clap your goddamn hands. Like, I think Dave leaned over and was like, see? The Mafia does some good things. Fucking beat the shit out of Chuck Traynor. So I highly recommend the movie. There are people that scoff at this lady's story. I'm not one of those guys. Chuck Traynor did that shit. You know. So, but again, like I said, it's not an anti-pornography movie at all. This is just it's a movie about somebody who was horribly fucking abused by a bad fucking guy. So I recommend watching it. I highly recommend it. It'll be a tough sit, but it's a good sit. It's worth watching. It is. Again, a movie that honestly should be in more fucking theaters than that goddamn Paranoia movie. So that's my thoughts on that. If I had any complaints, when it's showing like the reenactments of Deep Throat, when it's showing them watching Deep Throat in the theater, every time you see footage of Deep Throat in it, it's reenacted. It's reenacted, of course. But anytime there's something like that, it always looks like it's shot on the same exact camera that was used to film the movie Lovelace. It doesn't look like it. It doesn't look like Deep Throat. It doesn't look like the same quality as Deep Throat, the same film quality at all. It looks, and I don't know if this is true, but it looks like it looks like Deep Throat. But if Deep Throat was shot with a digital fucking camera, I don't know what kind of camera Lovelace was shot on. But when they show, like when it's in the theater, when the characters are in a theater watching Deep Throat, it looks. Like it doesn't look like Deep Throat. But I'm just going into minor fucking territory here. But yeah, and when I think it was Adam Brody popped up as Harry Reams. When he pops up as Harry Reams, I was sitting there like, he's not nearly hairy enough to be Harry Reams. That's just me being a geek. And then later on, when it's splicing in footage of Amanda Seyfried on Donahue, they're like splicing in footage of her and with the actual footage of Donahue on there, and the quality's very different. Like the Donahue footage looks like the Donahue footage, but the footage of her looks like they shot it their own way and then in post-production put a filter on it to make it look old. But if that's the only thing if that's the only nitpick I have about this thing, then it's a really damn fucking good movie, because that's fucking minor. So that's about all I got on this here. So I'm gonna take a break and talk about Iceman.
Closing lab. Sorry, but you're out of a job. You follow orders, you got everything to gain. If you don't have it in you, now's the time to say it.
good at what I do.
What about leaving witnesses at a murder scene?
I don't kill women or children.
All right, I actually just got done watching this probably an hour ago, shortly before I started recording this. Usually when I do these kind of movie review logs, I watch the movie, do the review, watch the movie, do the review. By the time I started this, I'd seen all 3 movies. And you know what? These 3 fucking movies are better than any fucking thing I went to go to the theater to see in August. All 3 of them. All 3 of these movies. Like, even movies in August that I liked. All 3 of these movies, better than those fucking movies. These movies deserve to be out in theaters. These movies, they couldn't have... I think Lovelace cost $10 million fucking dollars. Frozen Ground, about $30 million. I'm not sure what the budget on Iceman was, but it couldn't have been a whole hell of a lot. You put some fucking advertising behind these movies, you put them out in theaters, they're probably going to make their fucking money back. I'm just saying, like, movies need to not be so goddamn expensive again. Yeah, piece of shit fucking movies like The Lone Ranger that cost about $300 million fucking dollars to make, and, oh, shock! The shitty movie didn't make that fucking money back. And then you have these great fucking movies that should be out in more fucking theaters that have a much bigger chance of making their money back because they're good fucking movies. Iceman's fucking cool. Iceman is a good fucking movie. I really dug the shit out of this movie. I did. And the second movie I watched in a row that has a surprising James Franco cameo in them. Lovelace and this, suddenly halfway through the movie, boom! James Franco cameo. In Lovelace, he's playing Hugh Hefner. 'Cause sure. You know, the sad thing is I bought it. I did. I went along. I totally went along with it. And Lovelace, like, all right, he's Hefner. Okay. And oh, I didn't mention this about Lovelace. Surprising bit of fucking casting. I was sitting there watching the movie, and anytime the actor playing Lovelace's mom pops up on screen, I'm watching like, oh, she looks a little familiar, but probably just like a character actress I've seen in a few movies here and there. I didn't think much of it. Hour into the movie, it's a scene in the movie where Lovelace tries to go back to her mom to move back in, but her mom doesn't let her. Dave goes, "That's Sharon fucking Stone." And I'm like, what? I would not have known that if Dave hadn't have said that. I would have sat here and done this review not knowing that that was Sharon Stone. She's fucking good in the movie, but boy, is she made up to look different. And once I looked, I was like, okay, I can kind of see it now. There's no way I would have picked up that that was Sharon Stone. There's no way. There's no way Dave would have either. He only looked that up on IMDb because she looked relatively familiar to him, and he had to double check. But she's damn fucking good in that movie. And James Franco pops up as one of the guys that the Iceman was sent to kill in this. The Iceman is about contract killer Richard Kuklinski, known as the Iceman, who for many, many years was a very, very good at his job contract killer, who I think it says at the end of the movie killed over like 100 people. And it's Michael Shannon in the 60s on into the 80s as a mafia hitman who, for most of the time, is working for Ray Liotta, who Ray Liotta is getting threatened a lot by crime boss Robert Davi. And you also have stupid mob guy played by David Schwimmer with a ponytail and a porn stash. You already want to see this movie. I really dug this movie. Michael Shannon is, I don't know how many other movies I've seen where there is a lead character this fucking intimidating. Like, he will murder you with your eyes. Like, the first time you see him kill anyone in this movie, he slits their throat. And he probably could have done the same thing if he just stared at the throat for a good couple of minutes. But he had to get out there quick, so he went for the knife. That's the movie. The movie is it's a character piece. It's a biopic on... He was a guy who worked on some porn loops for the mob. That got shut down, so they realized that this guy is a stone cold sociopath who seems to have a temper problem, and also will do anything that's asked of him and really not question it. And seems to have no conscience or emotion whatsoever. So they hire him as a hitman. There's a scene in the movie where he goes to bump off Franco, and Franco starts like praying, and then he says to him, like, you think God's gonna come down and save you? You think God is gonna come here and stop me from killing you? Okay, continue praying. Let's see if God comes down and saves you. And it's this like 2-minute scene, and it's like, it's one of the best scenes of its kind since Spader did the stopwatch thing in 2 Days in the Valley. Like it's brutal. That was good. That's a good scene. And Michael Shannon, dear God, does he fucking carry this movie? Because he's a straight up sociopath in this movie. But you fuck with his family, he's gonna nail you to the fucking cross. You fuck with this guy's family, he will put a bullet in Gotti's fucking head if you fuck with his family. It's one of the only movies I've seen where there's a car chase, so the guy's family is still in the car with him, and it's only because the guy in front of him flipped off his family and told him to go fuck themselves. It's a good piece. They make his, when you actually do reading about the guy and you kind of know what the guy was and some of the things that the guy did, they make him more sympathetic and likable in the movie than he really was in real life. In the movie, he very much loves his family. He's still very distant and cold, and dear God, intimidating. But they make it like if you fuck with his family, he's gonna fucking kill you. Like, they make it to where he will do anything to protect his family. He loves his fucking family. So by the end of it, when people are coming after his family and it's showing him murdering these people so they don't come near him or his family, by the end of it, he's about to kill one of the dudes, and that's when he gets caught. And you're kind of sitting there like kind of bummed out that he didn't get away with it. You really are. They make him sympathetic. They make him really sympathetic and likable, considering. So by the end, when he gets caught and incarcerated, you are kind of sitting there like, oh, like throughout the movie, Ray Liotta's threatening the guy left and right, threatening to kill his family, threatening to do all this stuff. You do want to see him kill off Ray Liotta at the end of the movie. That doesn't happen because it's a true story. When you do know a little more about the guy, what they don't show you in the movie is that the guy was a bastard. Like, the guy really was a bastard. Like, in real life, I guess he knocked around his wife quite a bit. He wasn't quite the good family guy as he's really portrayed in the movie. Winona Ryder plays his wife in the flick. She's really good. This is, in terms of kind of stock wife character in a movie, she's much better than the wife character in the Frozen Ground. Like, this is actual three-dimensional character that's in this movie here. So it ends with his incarceration and whatnot. So yeah, they certainly took some liberties and stuff on the guy's personal life, but they really do show you how cold this dude is. Like, even though in the movie they give him kind of a softer side, as much as they could. Softer, but softer side to a guy he's called the fucking Iceman, for shit's sake. He freezes fucking bodies so that the police won't tell what the time of death was. Along with Chris Evans, who's his long-haired partner through a lot of the movie. He's good in this too. Really, everyone is. Everyone's really, really solid in this flick. Like, when you have scenes in this movie where Michael Shannon is just breathing, just like that, and it's not cartoonish at all. It's not cartoonish. It might sound like it is, like I'm describing it, but when you have like scenes of him, like when he knows people are gonna come fucking kill his family, and he's throwing shit around in his apartment, beating shit, just putting his head like in an empty sink and just breathing, just and the movie does an interesting job at showing that there's kind of a fine line between contract killer and serial killer, because when he gets let go from the organization, because Ray Liotta's got to kind of distance himself from some things, so they end up letting him go, and it's sort of like watching. The guy loves to kill. The guy fucking loves to kill, and it's like looking at somebody who, what he loves doing is taken away from him. His hobby is taken away from him. He can't do it anymore, so he's edgier. He's stressed out a little more. He's good at what he does. So this is a guy who, he goes on a disco floor and coughs cyanide into a dude's face when he has to kill him. It's fucking Artie from The Sopranos, too. He basically plays... Artie from The Sopranos basically plays Clamps in this movie. I won't tell you anything more. He's just basically playing Clamps. In, like, his attitude, not in that he's walking around with clamps on his hand. But, so then he starts working for... Michael Shannon starts working with Chris Evans' character as a partnership, as just a freelance contract killer. And that kind of carries through the rest of the movie. But this is a solid. All three of these movies are really my kind of movies. Like I like a good period piece sleaze flick. I do, like The Frozen Ground, like stuff like The Frozen Ground, like stuff like Lovelace, stuff like this. Really dark, serious movies that have to do with seedier things 30, 40 years ago. I like that. I like those kind of movies. I do. It could be a serious, straightforward movie like Frozen Ground. It could be a really, really gritty streetwalker B movie like Vice Squad. It could be like a stone cold character piece like this. Or it could be something just fucking disturbing like Lovelace or Star 80. I like those kind of movies. You can do a lot of stuff with that. You can make a campy flick. You can make a serious movie. Sometimes you can fucking do both. So all three of these are really good, solid fucking movies that I highly, highly fucking recommend. Definitely Lovelace. Definitely Iceman. And yeah, Frozen Ground. I'd probably put it Lovelace, Iceman, and Frozen Ground. I think I've recommended these more higher than I have most of the movies I saw during the summer. If I did a top 5 best movies of the summer list, these 3 fucking movies are going on there. So definitely go check this out. And I'm sorry I didn't lose my voice this time yelling about something that I hate. I can't always see stuff that I hate. So, that's it for me. I'm going to get working on, I'm going to sleep, and then when I wake up, I'm going to be working on a Snob episode. I'm going to get that done. We'll be doing Shot on Chidio. There's Midnight's coming this week, of course, so we'll be doing some Brad Tries To production vlogs, so plenty of stuff still coming up. So go check out these movies and come back to the site and check out my shit. So, see ya.